Did you get the documents, Goofy?
I did. But there was something else.
What are you talking about?
It's,
It's what?
well, it's a dossier. I read it, Mickey. Do you have any idea what the Americans are doing here with the Vietnamese people? Mickey, it's.
Hand it over. We need to destroy it.
But Mickey, we can't destroy it. The world needs to know what they're doing here. We need to leak these to the press.
That's treason.
But it could end the war. It'll save thousands of lives, Mick. We have to do what's right. We can't let this go on.
Goofy,
Once the people back home see what's happening here, support for this pointless fighting will collapse. I'll get to see my wife again. I'll get to see Max. Mickey, we'll get to go home.
there's nothing left for me back home. War is the only thing that holds me together. It's all I know. We're soldiers. We don't question. We act.
But Mickey,
Don't but Mickey me. Hand over the file.
good soldiers don't always follow orders.
Good soldiers do always follow orders. And I'm giving you an order right now, Goofy. Look, Goofy, we can't let that information get out. We just can't.
We have to. It's our moral obligation. We can't let them go on with all this.
But, Goofy,
If you want the files, you're going to have to kill me.
don't make me choose between my country and you. You're like a brother to me.
Then look me in the eye when you do it. Tell my Maxie that I love him.
Listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
Oh,
Wow,
well,
that
hello
was Clown
there.
World.
Yes. And welcome to Clown World, my friends. It's Ben and Hobbs, Hobbs and Ben. This is Clown World. You're living in it. That was dark.
Yeah, got real dark. I thought that was funny for those of you that follow Ed Black, and it kind of tied into his whole Goofy thing. What was the discussion that Goofy Goofy wasn't a dog, or Goofy was a cow, or
Yeah, people seem to think that Goofy's a cow. And it's like, no, Goofy is a dog. And Pluto is also a dog. And the difference is speech. One is the slave and one is the master.
that was an interesting thread for Disney characters. For those of you who don't follow, I Survived the Kali Yuga. Ed Black does the comics there. He's got a interesting group that follows him. Clown World, yeah, you can see I got a job at Twitter. Part of the new content management team. So
yeah, it's funny you should bring that up because the guys over in the B chat are talking about how Twitter is it might break tonight. A lot of the programming engineers have walked off the job. So there's that.
Would it be interesting if nothing breaks if they get rid of all those people? I mean, at that point, it was just adult babysitting.
Yeah, have you seen those videos of the like day in the life of the people that work at Twitter? And it's like, I show up, I have a meeting, I drink a mocha, I go and do some yoga in the yoga room, I go to the ball pit. I'm like, Jesus, it's adult babysitting.
Well, I said, during the pandemic that I thought we would see a flip-flop in wages from blue collar to white collar once we realize how useless all these white collar workers are. And the blue collar schmucks like us have been underpaid for a long time. And how important, the blue collar workers are, that you can't replace with an AI program or somebody from India. You're not going to get a plumber to come to your house from India. You're not going to go, what is that, Fiverr? You're not going to go plumber off Fiverr.
Yeah.
And, the AI, it's really putting a dent. I never thought it would take off like that. That the AI artists, the AI programs would replace artists. You can put anything you want in there, and this AI program will kick out whatever you want to see.
Yeah, but it's usually really weird. Which, given the standards of modern art, given the standards of modern art, AI produced art is, pretty par for
one art
course.
contest.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't see that Twitter video. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's there's a few of them floating around. People that either work at like Google or YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, a lot of these tech jobs where they get 6-figure salaries plus all of these benefits and perks. I forget what tech company it was that worked for, but they had like wine on tap. Like in the break room, it was just like you could go grab yourself a Dixie cup and walk up to this tap and pour yourself a glass of wine just on the job. So, I'm going to get blotto on the job and flag some people for harmful extremist content.
I think he got rid. Those people were contractors too. I imagine they were working from home. Seems like that was one of the first ones that Elon axed, was the content moderation contractors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your prediction about the wage inversion from blue collar to white collar was pretty spot on, because unemployed is technically
Zero.
making less.
The minimum wage is always zero. I mean, who knew when they started raising interest rates to cause unemployment that Elon and the tech companies would follow along and fire a shit ton of people? I mean, that's got to be enough to put a dent in what they were expecting to get for unemployment right there. Somebody commented, the most twisted AI generated pics I've seen yet were only fans and Anne Ryan. Ugh, who'd want to see that shit?
Yeah, Warren's one of the guys that's in the chat, and he follows that Twitter crap more than I do, because I'm not on Twitter, because I refuse to swim in an ocean of piss. So maybe elaborate down in the chat a little bit. But,
I'm not either. Never saw the draw of Twitter. Maybe that's why Elon hired me. I get one 15-minute lunch break per 20-hour shift, so we're doing the show now.
Back to work, wage slave.
Man, and that it seems like the employees there, I wish I could see those videos, because it sounds like Elon's trying to get actual work out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just too much for them. They're just going to quit.
You mean I actually have to produce something for 6 figures a year? What?
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous what's going on over there. Meanwhile, the dumbass that I am, I'm just like slicing and dicing my hands to ribbons on metal chips every day for, peanuts by comparison.
Well, and I still haven't figured out either he completely fucked up buying this company, or he's got some 4D chess end game, or he just wanted to get rid of it. The people funding him were conservatives who were just sick of this shitty echo chamber and were willing to lose $1 billion. He had a bunch of people pitch in. They're willing to lose $1 billion just to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, either way, he can either make it into the free speech Wild West that he claims he wants to, or burn the whole thing to the ground, and it's a net benefit for humanity.
And meanwhile, Tesla stock's tanking because apparently he's sleeping in the Twitter offices trying to get it under control or something. I don't know. It's such a weird situation. He's bringing back Vine. Yeah. Somebody commented he's bringing back Vine. I wish.
I didn't even Vine was a flash in the pan. I remember seeing stuff, people like, oh, check out this Vine for all of 5 minutes, and then it was on the TikTok or something else.
Had no way to make money, much like Twitter. Seems like it was all smoke and mirrors. It was actually making money. I'm wondering if businesses just advertises on Twitter because they were going through the motions to appease the leftist mob. You know what I mean?
Well, Twitter has never turned a profit in all of the years that it's existed. It has never been a profitable company. It's always been subsidized by the other companies. Like when Jack Dorsey was running it, he also ran like Stripe, I think.
Yeah.
That was his real pet project was Stripe, and Stripe was the moneymaker. Twitter was the toy, and it never turned a profit, but it was an important sounding board for the opinions of the world. And then from what I've been able to ascertain from kind of like rumor mills and whatnot, Jack Dorsey was basically a hostage at his own company. I mean, he's like a left of center guy, but he wasn't one of these like screeching rainbow haired weirdo wokies.
Mhm.
And when that became the culture of the company, he was still at the head of things, but he had no control, no oversight because it's kind of like in the last couple of years of the Trump administration. He'd say, "No, I want it done this way," and they'd be like, "Okay, Jack," and then they just walk off and do it their own way because what the fuck is he going to do, right?
Yeah. And that kind of ties into another thing we want to talk about with FTX, because I said they're just doing it to appease the leftist mob, and there was a recent interview with Bankman-Fried, the CEO of FTX. They asked him about all his oh geez, all the money he gave away to like Democrats and leftist causes, and he might have said the part out loud he wasn't supposed to. He called it a shibboleth, which is a term for it's a custom. I had to look it up. I never heard it. It's an old Jewish thing too. A customer principle or belief, a particular class or group of people regarded as outmoded or no longer important. So he was just going through the act. He's going through the motions to get money. You know what I mean? He had to do these things. He had to give to democratic causes. He had to give to climate change, but he basically said, I didn't believe any of that shit. It's just something. And he said after he said, it's something you have to do to play the game.
Mm.
So to get in with all these people and keep the money going in, he had to appeal to the leftist causes, which, we can hop into FTX here right now if you want. I've been hearing quite a bit about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know the basic bare bones. It's more or less. It seems to me that this is the largest theft in human history. Tens of billions of dollars from normal
Well,
people.
did he beat Enron? I think Enron is actually higher, but he's in like the top 3.
Yeah, but Enron was embezzled from a company, right? This was stolen from individual users of the crypto exchange.
Yeah, Enron, 74 billion from its shareholders and employees.
Okay, yeah. So, but it also is apparently one of the largest money laundering scams ever.
Apparently.
It's like a like I've heard it called a Ponzi scheme or like a pyramid scheme. I don't think it's that because that.
Well, even what Bankman-Fried said there, where he had to give that money to those causes to be a player. So sure, he gets money from banks, and then it's obvious it's money laundering right there.
Right. The other one is the Ukraine connection that ties in neatly to the other top or one of the other topics that we have to talk about tonight was the missile strike in Poland.
Mhm.
But the Ukraine connection was apparently our tax dollars go over as foreign aid to Ukraine. And then Ukraine is encouraged to invest that money in cryptocurrencies through the FTX exchange, at which point money is taken off the top and then given back to the DNC.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the definition of money laundering, hiding it through intermediaries and hiding it through secondary purchases. It's really bad. And I unfortunately I don't have any faith that anybody is going to be spending any time behind bars because of it.
Yeah, I don't. And now they're getting into it. They're Bahamas are saying no, the United States has no jurisdiction here. We're going to do our own thing. He can't declare Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Yep.
So I'm going to guess everybody's just going to lose their money. I do like that somebody was opening a class action against all the celebrities that, you know, he was paying them big bucks for them to push his FTX exchange.
Yeah, I saw a commercial with Larry David that for FTX that aired a while back, and
Yeah.
if you watch it with the context of what we know about FTX right now, it's
I've
even
seen it.
funnier than it was the first time.
And yeah, and I made a comment to you in our little chat about, you know, it seems weird, not to get all Kanye, but it seems weird that a largely Jewish group was crashing out crypto, pushing back people to traditional banking. And, you know, I never really looked into it about why there's so many Jewish people in banking, but don't go down that rabbit hole. You'll come away with more questions than you started with. It ends up at the Rothschilds.
It ends up in
apparently there was
medieval-
such a thing called court Jews back in the Middle Ages. It's not even a derogatory term. I guess a lot of these people, to fund their kingdoms, had a Jewish person in their court who just had readily access to funds and would loan it to the nobles.
Yeah, it's it goes all the way back to old medieval usury laws.
Yep. Yeah, it was one of the few
because-
professions that they were blocked from a lot of stuff, so they got into banking, and it just took off from there.
Yep, they're the three main religions in Europe at the time. You had the Islamic Moors, and you had Christianity, of course, and then you had Judaism. And Islam and Christianity both have laws against usury, which is charging interest on a loan, for anybody that doesn't know what that is. And so Jews were the only ones that didn't have the usury laws, and so they realized that they can get into financing things, because what's the point in lending money out to somebody if you can't get any kind of a return on your investment? You know, you only stand to lose if you can't charge interest. So then you had a lot of wealthy European like business families that saw the money-making opportunity, so they started like marrying off their kids or converting into Judaism in order to get in on this, and then adding their substantial family fortunes to the money that could be lent out, charging interest on it. Next thing you know, these families are all getting together and they file under the banner of the Red Shield, or Rothschild in German, Rothschild, and thus a banking dynasty that owns the majority of the world's finances was born.
Well, I thought it was interesting that if the person they loaned the money to, while a noble, died, if the person following, a lot of times they didn't want to be responsible for that debt, so they'd execute their court Jews. It's right in the Wikipedia entry. It's like, holy cow. So I can understand where they're so tied up in it, and it's like they were the first people, it seems, to figure out generational wealth outside of being a noble. And it's just carried all the way down into the banking.
Yep, but we're not allowed to talk about these sorts of things because that would be anti-Semitic somehow.
I don't know what's anti-Semitic. I mean, I thought, surely they're not that common, but once you start looking at it, you just follow the Wikipedia articles, which have a leftist lean most of the time anyways. And you can see how they ended up in it. It's kind of like how all the Vietnamese people that run the nail salons, it was the only thing they could get into, and it's just carried forward. I mean, there's third or fourth generation Vietnamese people running nail salons. They have no need to be in them. It's just what their family's done, and it's where they're at. Yep. It's kind of the same thing with Jews and banking.
Yep. The Dave Chappelle opening monologue for Saturday Night Live last week, he's like, there's a common perception that if they're black, it's a gang. If they're Italian, it's the mafia. And if they're Jewish, it's a coincidence, and you're not allowed to talk about it.
I miss that. So he's canceled even harder now, huh?
Oh, they're pissed. They are. They're not happy. In addition to poking fun at the whole Kanye West, Kyrie Irving anti-Semitism debacle, he also laid out a very succinct and very well thought out explanation for why Trump was as popular as he was in 2016 and remains so today. And it's one of those things that will make you scratch your head and laugh at the same time. He did a pretty good job on it.
I didn't hear anything about Chappelle. I'll have to go watch that because I have no reason to watch Saturday Night Live. I can't believe they had Dave Chappelle on.
Yeah, me neither. He apparently when they asked for a copy of his the transcript for his monologue, he gave them a fake. And then he got up there and did what he did, and a lot of the producers and camera people like walked out when they realized that what they had been handed and what he was doing were two completely different things.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's anti-Semitism to say they're overrepresented.
It's not anti-Semitic. They're just using it as a shield to keep you from talking about it.
Anyways,
Luke over here says they're the banking clan from Star Wars. Absolutely. If you've watched the Clone Wars TV, the Mune, the intergalactic banking cartel, is legitimately a Jewish caricature. Like high-pitched, nasally voices, gigantic noses. It's duh.
Yeah, they slip that in on there sometimes. Like
it's not even subtle.
The little the flying guy that
Watto
sold Anakin. Yeah, Watto. That's another one. It's like that's a little on the nose, just a bit. But anyways, the FTX thing. Yeah, he's one of the most money ever lost. 100 million people lost money, I guess, is what they're saying. All those poor schmucks that saw a Super Bowl commercial with Tom Brady on it and went there and got their app, stuck their money in there, gone.
Yeah.
And they just spent it on. They just spent it on stupid shit. I mean, he had a shell company. He transferred it into. He started his own crypto coin, funded it with that. Just no common sense, no oversight. His staff was like a bunch of people he met in college or something.
They were having sex orgies at the office.
I've seen pictures of that staff. They should drop that part of the story. Nobody needs that.
Speaking of things that they're going to drop, apparently there's going to be a sex tape with his number one girl that's going to be dropping, and it doesn't.
I can't believe she had all that money and she couldn't get some dental work done. I mean, I'm not dunking on her. It just seems like if you were a billionaire, you'd at least get some Invisalign off the internet or something. But
see, that's what they call "fuck you" money. She didn't need to get any dental work done. Like I can be as ugly as I want to be.
Where did you see it? Why? I don't even a sex. That doesn't even make any sense. Ugh. Yeah. That was their therapist. They had like a company therapist, and he or she dropped that they were all having orgies together and were hanging out in the Bahamas in a $1 billion condo.
So apparently this girl that we're talking, I don't know her name, or like Ellison, I think is her last name. She apparently had a very traditional upbringing. And then when she started getting into polyamory, she said that the equality amongst partners was all bullshit, and a hierarchy and ranking system with various partners aggressively jockeying for.
So it's like
slot.
A Mongol type harem.
She called it Imperial Chinese harem style polyamory was how she put it.
A Genghis Khan style harem, I guess. Jeez.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, good for them, I guess. At least they were having some. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Was she like the only girl in that whole group? Were they her harem, or was she part of it, or their?
You know what? If it was like an equal opportunity thing with like 5 guys and 5 girls just passing each other around like a blunt in a college dorm, more power to you. I think it's kind of gross. I think the whole thing probably smelled like patchouli oil, but whatever, man.
Oh, that reminds me. Did you see Ligma and Johnson got fired from FTX also?
Those guys are everywhere.
Poor
They're
Raul
like
Ligma.
they're like the Sam Hyde of the tech industry, I guess.
Yeah,
They
I
can't.
love that. I love that Elon played right into it too. Just played it up.
Mhm. He
Big
really
mistake
is.
firing these engineers, Ligma and Johnson.
He really is coming into his own as an internet shitlord.
Yes. And some media still didn't get it. They were like, Elon Musk has to rehire 2 software engineers he fired. And it's Raul Ligma and whatever Johnson again. It's like, oh, come on, do some freaking research. Like the last name of Ligma, you don't pick up on that?
I know, it's just so dumb. Like, journalists have to be the dumbest demographic on the planet outside of like an actual Special Olympics roster or something.
Yeah, I mean it's so obvious. And there was all sorts. I looked at an article, just all sorts of people with Ukraine in their profile just trying to dunk on you. Look, you had to rehire back as engineers. And it's Ligma and Johnson. And it's like you just don't get it.
The Ukraine flag in the bio has got to be the latest IQ test.
It's the new COVID. It's the new I got vaxxed profile
Yeah.
frame.
Exactly. It's so dumb, which kind of is a nice little segue.
Yeah, we didn't
into,
even think about talking about that one. The old errant missile, huh?
Yeah. So the official story, like 5 minutes after a missile came down within Polish borders and blew up a grain silo and killed 2 Polish farmers, was that, oh, this is Russia's attacking Poland. Russia's attacking Poland. And everybody that had more than 2 brain cells to rub together was just kind of like, why? Why would Russia attack Poland? The fact that the chance that this is an accident is like 99 to 1. So even if it is a Russian missile, it was almost 100% certain that it was not an intentional strike on Poland. And if it was an intentional strike on Poland, why a grain silo?
Yeah, Russia's been getting their shit kicked in enough. I don't think they want to be poking Poland anyways. That wouldn't. Poland's kind of based anymore.
Yeah, and so within 5 minutes of it happening, Zelensky, of course, is on the news going, "Oh, Russia attacked Poland. Poland's a NATO ally. Better get out there, get Article 5. Gotta have Article 5." And everybody's just like, "Oh, okay, I see what's happening here." And luckily, a Polish independent journalist was on the scene like immediately and started taking pictures of fucking everything that was laying around there, and he managed to get a picture of the fragments of the bomb motor that was laying around, and had some markings on it, and they identified it as the motor off of an S-300, which Russia does not have any within that area within like several thousand miles. And the S-300 only has a maximum range of 95 miles.
Right.
So it was definitely a Ukrainian missile. So now the question comes down to, was the S-300 fired in an anti-aircraft or missile defense capacity and just missed its intended?
Well, it says here it is a surface-to-air missile system.
Yes. So was it fired in that capacity at something like a jet or an incoming Russian missile, or did Zelensky just try to false flag us into World War III?
I don't know that I would guess that he saw an opportunity and he ran with it after I mean, you shoot a missile up in the air, and if it doesn't hit something, I assume it's got to come down somewhere. And it's Russian quality build, so it probably doesn't have much of a self-destruct built into it. Sucks for the 2 farmers just going about their day and get fucked by a missile.
Yep.
But yeah, right away I saw that Biden was telling Zelensky to cool his jets.
Mm-hmm.
And the story died down pretty fast. Boy, the stock markets were all over the place while that was going on, though.
I'm at Raytheon and Lockheed Martin.
Oh,
Over
yeah,
there going
people
like,
were-
oh.
Yeah, people were hopping into that shit like crazy. They thought
Yep.
World War III was going to happen, so they were
Yeah.
going to profit.
Yeah, and
Read a bunch of stories about people losing their ass from it.
yeah. So Lloyd Austin and Mark Milley got in front of the press corps yesterday and tried to spin it how, like, okay, yes, it was a Ukrainian anti-air rocket that missed its target and came down and killed a couple of Polish people, but it's still Russia's fault because this is a war of their choosing. It's like, come on, dude, accidents happen.
That reminds me, we were talking about classic Biden moments. Did you see the news conference that Biden had after they talked with the Polish, what do they call him, an MP or minister or something?
Mm.
So they're all sitting there at the table, and reporter asks the first question. He's like, can you tell us about this incident that happened? And Biden just says no. And everybody at the table just kind of looks at him like, this press conference was called to talk about this incident. Biden says no. Everybody at the table just kind of looks at Biden, and in come his handlers and just usher all the press out. And
let's take a mulligan on this one.
that was the best part. It even said in the video I saw, it's like press conference to discuss incident in Poland. And the first question, it's one of the people he's supposed to call on.
Yeah.
He's probably expecting, and then Biden just said no. One word. Classic.
Kudos for brevity, man. Hey, if my camera dies, just switch over to my laptop camera because my phone looks like it's about to die. But yeah, it's pretty stupid.
So yeah, that's I mean, I would expect more of that to happen. Well, I don't know. Maybe this was his test. He's like, all right, well, they're not going to fall for that shit.
Yeah.
We did send him $57 more billion the next day, though. So why not?
Yeah. I have a sneaking suspicion that was already earmarked and ready to go, and they just were looking for an excuse to do it. But I also find it to be very fortuitous that the Russian missile enters Polish airspace narrative started to pop its ugly head up right as, a day before the midterms. Zelensky said that that peace was on the table. And then the midterms happen and the Republicans take control of the House. And it looks like constituencies on both the left and the right all over the country are getting a little bit sick of this Ukraine war bullcrap. So he's kind of panicking, being like, okay, well, my gravy train, the biscuit wheels might be falling off the gravy train here pretty quick. So, maybe peace can be on the table.
What was the other thing? They waited till after the midterms. Did you see? The FTX. student loan. Yeah, FTX, and then the student loan thing where they ruled, oh yeah, you can't do that.
And myocarditis that came out too.
Yep. All after the midterms. Well, that's just a coincidence.
They were sitting on these things just like they sat on the Hunter Biden laptop story because they knew it would hurt their preferred candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget who it was. I saw somebody on Twitter put out that if you needed any more evidence that corporate press is the enemy of the people, they sat on FTX, they sat on Zelensky suing for peace. They sat on student loans. They sat on myocarditis. They sat on all of this stuff until right after the midterms.
I mean, everybody's got to see it at this point. I even people that, I know a couple progressives, they realize that the press is kind of full of bullshit at this point.
Mm-hmm. But they're on their side. So
yeah, so they're fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got caught embezzling. Here, have a rocket.
Random missiles, go.
Yeah, I just, all the people when Elon Musk was looking at buying Twitter, all the people that shared that thing around, oh, if Elon can spend $44 billion on Twitter, why can't he spend it on hunger? Mm-hmm. Well, if we can spend, I even lost track at this point, how many billions sending to Ukraine, why? Hey, I would have been, if I had to choose between sending all this bucket loads of money to Ukraine or dropping rice to whoever the fuck needs it, I'm all for that part. If those are my two options.
Yeah, it'll feed hungry people in the third world, and it'll give a rice farmer a job.
Yeah, right. So, but they don't even think that way.
Poland could have a missile as a little treat.
Yeah, Poland Kevin missile's a little treat there. Yeah, the midterm stuff. That all that. Well, at least the GOP, I guess, is in the House now, so we've got a divided government at least.
Beautiful, beautiful, sweet, delicious gridlock.
Yes. If they're not going to do the right shit, at least they won't do any shit.
Mm-hmm.
UN has spent like 25 billion on world hunger. 6 more won't fix it. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of studies out there, dropping all that free food on people just fucks up their local economy and makes the situation even worse. Mm-hmm. So why would Joe Nigerian go out there and farm, bust his ass off, when here comes a truck with free food in? Now he can't sell his shit for anything. So why would he even bother? This is getting off topic, but there was a great article. He's from Kenya, and he's going to University of Wyoming in Laramie. And he was talking about how all these rich white Americans come over to Kenya, and they're just flooding Kenya with solar panels, shitty batteries, wind generators that break all the time. Meanwhile, they're making contracts with it was Nigeria, sorry, not Kenya. Meanwhile, they're making contracts with the Nigerian government to send all these fossil fuels over to the United States and Western countries. You see what's going on there? So they're telling these people, you can't rely on fossil fuels. You need to be green economies. They're doing this all over Africa, I guess. Meanwhile, they're shipping all their natural gas, everything overseas. He called it a form of imperialism. I need to find this article and send it to you.
It's really interesting, and never thought I'd be saying this. Maybe the lefties are onto something when they say that we pillaged Africa and still are.
Yeah, I mean, he comes right out and says that, and his thing, he's trying to get his master's so that people, he realized how the system works. He mentions that he's black, and if he gets a PhD behind his name, more people will listen to him when he says this. So he comes from a wealthy family, and he saved up enough money to come over. I need to find it. It's a great article, and that's all he's doing. He's just trying to get the word out there how this is a new form of imperialism in Africa. And meanwhile, we're just dumping all this shitty green energy on them, and everything breaks down all the time. And they're trying to convert from a manual-based economy for their farming and et cetera to an economy that uses tractors. They're still using horses and oxen over there in a lot of places. Yep. And they can't convert to an economy that's mechanized because all these Western, NGOs are pushing all this green energy on them. Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, they're just stuck as a backwater because, the whole Western world got where they are by using fossil fuels because a tractor is way better than a team of oxen. Yeah. But they're keeping them down.
It's climbing the ladder and then pulling the ladder up so nobody else can get up there.
Right. So, we talked about how Western powers got caught holding the slavery card. Well, it looks like Africa gets caught holding the fossil fuels card, and they're getting fucked over it.
Yep.
Because they have no way to advance without fossil fuels. But anyways, got way off topic. We talked about election stuff. The God Emperor threw his hat in the ring.
Yep.
The Golden God.
Yep. The God Emperor is making his triumphant redemption arc for the hero's journey. I
don't think it's going to play out.
Unless a lot of this election stuff gets fixed, I don't think it's going to play out too well either. They're already trying to start a GOP civil war with Ron DeSantis. Luckily, I think I don't think Ron DeSantis is going to take the bait. He hasn't said anything. Trump's taken a couple little snipes at him.
He's pretty sharp.
and it didn't play very well with the base. So I think Trump's going to cool it too. But DeSantis had every right to snipe back, and he's just like, yeah, it's just. I think everybody needs to cool down before we start talking about civil wars.
Well, and the Libertarian Party conspiracy theory is that, well, many of you probably don't know, the old Ron Paul crowd that was in the GOP managed to get all their people together, and they're the major leading group of the Libertarian Party at this point, the Mises Caucus.
Mm-hmm.
The theory is that maybe the Mises Caucus was GOP funded by Trump, and if he can't get the nomination, this is all tinfoil hat stuff. If he can't get if he sees that the nomination's going south for the GOP, he's going to pull in all his favors and funding and get the LP nod. So really rip shit apart.
That's no. No, I don't see that. I know that the Mises Caucus people, they lean right and they lean towards the GOP, but to out and out take Donald Trump as the LP nominee in 2024 after the last 6 years of everything that's happened, I just no. Absolutely not.
I mean, it'd be terrible if, I mean, that's an instant Biden win right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because of having a third party Donald Trump with all of his support that people still have for him, and having Ron DeSantis with all the people that still love him. Yeah, that's a Democrat victory. If anybody is trying to pull a fast one here, it'd be the Democrats, because they're the only ones that stand to win in that scenario.
When somebody told me, I just threw it out there because I thought it was funny. But somebody told me that, I was like, Trump doesn't win with that. The Democrats win with that. I mean, if anything, Trump would just be doing it because he was pissed off and wanted to fuck over the GOP at that point.
Burn the whole thing to the ground.
Yeah. But yeah, he threw his hat in the ring. I don't know. The reception seemed lukewarm, to say say the best about it.
Well, we still got 2 years. We'll see what comes of it.
I mean, he's got his followers that are just all in for him no matter what. But yeah. I don't know. Well, I don't see it again.
You know what? I'm behind it now. You know what? I'm going all in on the Trump train, because if we're going to be forced to live in clown world, I at least want to laugh.
Yeah, we got. He still hasn't been unbanned from Twitter. Let's see, what do we got over here from Scientific Libertarian? Would not mind Justin Amash and Jared Polis as a Libertarian presidential candidates. First Libertarian congressman with the Democrat Libertarian governor just pushed to legalize mushrooms in Colorado would be pretty awesome. I don't know. I don't think it's got enough mainstream appeal. I think we're looking at another 5%. I just think libertarians are spinning their wheels in presidential races. Mm-hmm. Nobody's gonna leave their team. No, it's so divided now. I think the time to pull that off was, back in the early 90s, after people with Ross Perot, when people saw, hey, we can vote for a third party and make a difference. At this point, it's just too divided. Not to say the LP should just throw in their hat, but everything's just split down the middle no matter what.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing about libertarians is that they want everything that they want. They want it right now. There is no incremental approach for a lot of them. And, I sympathize. The gun rights community is exactly the same way. If it's a constitutional carry bill in a podunk state like Nebraska, you don't really get much push behind it. But if it's nothing short than repeal the NFA and cash and carry automatic grenade launchers at your local hardware store, people aren't that interested in it. Yeah, unfortunately. And with a lot of libertarians, if it's not a complete abolishment of all the three-letter agencies, they just kind of are lukewarm on the whole reception of it, or they just don't see the point of putting up generational fights. And unfortunately, the people who are interested in putting up generational fights is the reason that we've got in this position that we're in right now. You're not going to turn things around overnight with a single election cycle. You're going to have to be willing to elect your people to your school boards in order to turn your school around, in order to educate your children and give them the civics education that they need in order to grow up and enact the changes that you would like to see in their lifetimes. And once the changes get enacted in their lifetimes, they could educate their children, et cetera, on down the line. It's a 100-year plan.
Yeah.
Is what we need, and people are too interested in
I
getting it
don't
right
understand how the GOP did not. I mean, how did the local level GOP not see that happening through the 90s and 2000s? That they were all the leftists were taking over the school boards. They were just blind to it, or they had their eyes on the bigger. I don't know. It just kind of pisses me off that they all let that happen. They're supposed to be the ones keeping their opponent in check. Now, I mean, everywhere the GOP has a push to get on school boards.
Yeah.
I think, what do you say over here? I think after Joe Jorgensen, people were trying to say they didn't want to be the party of former elected R's and D's. Yeah, I guess. I mean, how'd that work out, though? I mean, Joe Jorgensen was very, she didn't have any sort of shitty stuff in her background. Nice lady. Spike Cohen, great dude, but hardly anybody voted for him.
Right. Everything was and is and will continue to be entirely too tribal moving forward.
And yeah, exactly. And the new thing is, if it's a solid RD area, they don't even bother. They don't even do debates anymore. I mean, look at Herschel Walker, Fetterman, even here in Nebraska, the governor, there wasn't a single governor debate the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a solid territory, you don't even have to bother anymore, because you just know your Reds are going to vote for you. Your Blues will vote for you. You don't even have to try anymore. I mean, they could just put up their red team or blue team, and they'll put somebody in after it's decided, and people will probably be fine with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at this point, people know what a Republican stands for. People know what a Democrat stands for. Whether or not they follow through on those.
Well, what they're supposed to stand for.
What they're supposed to stand for. Whether or not they follow through on those principles and policy positions is up for debate, especially the Republicans, the small government guys that never saw a spending bill that they didn't sign off on. But,
Actually, I'd probably be better off if those ding-dong voters vote like that, if they were just picking red or blue, and then the party leadership picked who it was after his won. I mean, it's got to be better than the candidates that the general populace for those parties is picking at this point. At least, I mean, Katie Hobbs, no relation's in better shape after running from all them debates. So I didn't know about that example. So there's another example. You don't do debates.
Yeah. Well, you don't do debates if you're a Democrat. And that's the thing, is like, it doesn't even have to be a solidly red or a solidly blue district. Katie Hobbs, and no relation, and John Fetterman are perfect examples that Democrats, they don't have to campaign. They don't have to have good political ads, and they don't have to go to debates. They still win if a large urban metropolitan area exists within their territory, or shenanigans.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards shenanigans.
Well, that one's getting a recount, I think, isn't it? I doubt it'll be any different.
It's super close, and they just keep on finding votes in Maricopa County. Just ballot boxes, just poof, out of the ether.
I don't know. At this point, I'm saying they should just get rid of mail-in voting. It seems like it's too hard to control. I mean, sure, everybody should be able to vote, but
right. So the thing about everybody needs to be able to vote. You can take the same approach to it as everybody says that they have a right to health care. It's like, no, you don't have a right to health care. You have a right to access to health care. Now, whether or not you can make it there, whether or not you can pay for it, is on you. Same thing should apply to voting. Now, if you wanted to make me dictator for a day and give me broad sweeping authority to do one or two things with the election system, it would be no more mail-in ballots at all, with very, very strict exceptions like deployed troops overseas or at an out-of-state duty station, and the extremely infirm with a doctor's note confirmation that these people cannot make it to the polls. No more early voting. One day. One day is election day. And if you want to vote, you get your ass to the polls. And if not, tough shit.
Needs to
in
be a
order
federal
to-
holiday too. Then.
That was
Oh,
just
is that
what I
your
was
next
about
one?
to say.
Okay.
That was the next thing to say.
Sorry.
In order to facilitate that, it is a federal holiday. Everybody gets off work. So there should be no excuse to vote on the day. Paper ballots, hand counted at the polling station with triple confirmed totals being telephoned in front of a crowd to the district or to the Secretary of State's office or whatever the next higher up authority is. Transparency, crowds of people seeing what's going on, hand counted paper ballots, single day, no mail in ballots.
Yeah.
Piss a lot of people off, but you know what? Tough shit. This is the most powerful, wealthiest country in the world. This shit should not be happening. And I think it's pretty clear that more people voting equals gooder outcome is false.
I can't argue. I mean, like I said last time, I'm like that sheik in that video, you know.
Yep.
But the people are retarded. By the people, for the people, of the people. But the people are retarded. Which is where we're at. I guess the more people you get voted, the more people that are retarded you get in there too.
Yeah, that's why this country was founded on men who owned land voting. Because if you were, smart and wealthy enough to have a parcel of land, you were smart and wealthy, or smart enough to be able to vote because you had skin in the game. You owned land. You possibly had a business of some type.
I think some early American missed on a business opportunity. He could have been selling shit like, you can become a lord in Scotland or whatever. At those he could have been selling off 1 by 1 foot chunks of his land.
Yeah.
What the other two topic, Scientific Libertarian hit on it. Jared Polis got magic mushrooms legalized in Colorado. First state in the union to do that. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. I wonder. So like the legalization is it like full legalization, or is it just?
Oh yeah, they can grow shrooms in their basement if they feel like it. It's just like they first did with weed in Colorado too. You can grow so many plants. So I don't know. I've taken a heroic dose of shrooms before, and it'll be interesting to see how your suburban housewives handle it when they eat their edibles of shrooms and eat another one because it's not kicking in, and next thing you know they're soaring through space, jumping off of balconies or whatever,
talking directly to God.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, it's either, and I said it's either going to play out so that they're going to have the most well-centered. There's going to be so many studies on. I mean, it does have benefits. There's going to be so many studies on the benefits of it, or it's just going to go terribly wrong with people flying off hotel balconies or wandering through traffic naked. Or, I mean, there was a guy here in Nebraska at Chadron State up north of us, ate too many shrooms, tripped out, ended up stabbing his roommate to death and wounding the other two, and then ran through town naked. It's like, I don't know how those people. The thing is, there's so many stuff like that. If you have underlying mental issues, it doesn't fix them; it makes them worse. So with shrooms, they say set and setting. So if you're a schizophrenic and you're eating a fistful of shrooms, it's not going to turn out well.
It will bring these things to the surface.
I would say, and this is anti-libertarian of me, but I would say probably maybe going medicinal shrooms first and seeing how people behave on it. Not just opening it up for full legalization. It'll be weird to see how that works out. Nobody's I mean, they did weed different, but nobody's jumped off a balcony on weed that I've ever heard of.
Joe Rogan's moving to Colorado.
Yeah, they legalized DMT, mescaline, all sorts of fun shit.
So on the one hand, smuggling is an option. On the other hand, gas prices suck.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So yeah, I'm curious how it's going to turn out. I mean, Colorado's just over the border for me. I don't have any desire to do shrooms because last time I did, something told me don't come back here, so I'm going to listen to him. The machine elves told me not to come back, so I'm taking their advice.
Luke over here says people are going to be calling 911 because the refrigerator turned into a dragon, but they're hungry.
Yeah, I mean, what happens on shrooms? It's nothing like the other stuff. So I hope these people aren't. Well, weed's not that bad. I'm gonna eat a bunch of shrooms and have an adventure. No, you will. You'll have an adventure you'll never forget.
Yeah, I've never done any kind of drugs, but the only ones I've been curious about have been hallucinogens like LSD and mushrooms and stuff. Everything else just like, sounds kind of lame.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of studies. I mean, that said, mushrooms basically hit a little reset button in your brain for a lot of things. For, like I said, set and setting. So if you're in a good headspace and you're having some issues with depression, but you're handling it, mushrooms could probably help you. But if your depression's out of control and you're thinking, well, I'm just going to try shrooms, see what that does, not a good idea. You remember in vivid detail. Yes, that is correct. I remember all of my shroomy adventures, according to a friend. What else do we? Oh, the G20 in Indonesia. That's a weird segue. I don't know how we would pop into the G20 after talking about shrooms, but
because you'd probably have to be on shrooms to
to
attend
go.
such a boring, awful event such as that with such luminaries as Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and Joe Biden's dirty diaper pants.
Yeah, they called it. What was Zelensky called it the G19 because Russia should not be recognized. To be honest with you, I don't even know what the fuck the G20 people do when they get together.
Give each other handies in the code room.
Pass around Schwab like he's in an FTX bunkhouse or something. It's just like FTX, but on a bigger scale, and it's much older.
Yeah.
Same
Gross.
amount of Jewish people. that might be a little out. Whoops, that's a little out there. That's getting into Kanye territory. But Biden didn't attend that one, did he? He was
he went, but he was supposed to attend some big dinner, and then his handlers put a lid on it because I guess he had some health problems, probably exhausted. It's like a 2-day trip.
They weren't going to have ice cream, and they couldn't get him out of the hotel.
Yeah.
The G20 is a better handgun than the G19. Handgun news. I know how much you love Keltec. Did you see the reviews for the P15 that finally got released?
I did not. I saw TFB released a video, but I didn't watch it yet.
I mean, it's not terrible. It's got too many screws, as they put it, as any Keltec does.
Yes.
But he said for the price and to have a working handgun that holds a double stack of 15, great idea. He said it was a fine pistol.
Yeah.
Yep.
Keltec. It's not terrible.
Yeah. I still don't know if I would carry a Keltec in appendix, but the interesting thing on this, it has the palm safety, but you can also disable the palm safety.
Yeah.
So if you want to trust a Keltec to not blow your wiener off, you're welcome to try it. I would not. That would be my advice as an owner of several Keltecs, and don't trust a Keltec by your wiener.
Well, only the finest glass reinforced.
It's Keltec. It should come with red Loctite. Yeah, he said in the video, if you do the typical stuff with a Keltec, like Loctite the screws, there was another thing that he said, I can't remember what it was. It probably polished the feed ramp. Loctite the screws, polish a feed ramp, you'll be good to go with your Keltec. But I just want to throw that out there because we talk about Keltecs once in a while, and somebody mentioned G19s.
Because they're funny. Saw another meme. It was the Archer meme with the what's his name, Krieger, when he's like standing in front of the pile of cocaine with the MP5 on the rack, and it's like meanwhile in Keltec.
Does the trigger guard beat you up like the PF9? I've never handled that one, but it must have a rough spot inside the trigger guard. I take it, knowing Keltec, their casting tends to leave rough shit all over the place. But yeah, that's what we had for this week in Clown World. I mean, finishing with Keltec is a very Clown World thing to do. So same time next week. Tune in. Keltec, if you get a hold of this somehow, send us a P15. We'll check it out for you.
Sponsorships are available.
Yeah, I'm not sponsored by Steel. I just had the hat. So tune in again and stay honky.